If I was stuck in a 9-to-5 job and wanted to be financially free, this is exactly what I would do. The first thing I would do is I would not quit my job. The last thing you want is not to have leverage if something doesn't work. You want to have your base stable at all times. And then later, if that second or third or fourth source of income works out, then and only then would you eliminate the position that you don't like. So the first thing is you got to figure out where your point of weaknesses are. So when I was coming out of college, I got inundated with credit card debt because they're all mailing you free applications so that you could sign up and go into debt with them. And I did, just like a lot of people did. I was also in student loan debt. So those are the first two things I did when I got out of college, and I studied business. While I don't regret my student loans and using that money to go through school, it took me years to pay it off. The one that really hurt the most was the credit card debt. I didn't fully understand that I was paying at the time 18 to 20% on balances. I was never chipping away at the principal itself. So every purchase I made while I got new stuff, I was getting further and further away from financial freedom. So if I was in my 9-to-5, the very first thing I would do is find something that I really enjoyed, a new skill. It could be video, it could be graphics, it could be anything that you like to do on the side. And for me, because I have a real estate focus, I realized that there's lots of ways to make lots of money in real estate. You can do single family, you can do condos, you can do custom homes, you can do office buildings, you can do retail, you can do self-storage, you can do multifamily, you can do all these things. The world is endless. You can even do land development, which is what we do. So over the years, I've tried to get disciplined in a lot of different things and learn all of those things. And now I realize which ones I like, which ones I don't like. But more importantly, I see opportunities that I would have never seen when I first just got my real estate license. When I first got my real estate license, I didn't know how to do anything. Most people that get into real estate, they get a little bit of knowledge from their real estate classes and they get their real estate license, but all they ever know how to do is list houses and sell houses. The real estate industry is so big that most people reduce their knowledge down to those two things, when in fact, those are all the people that I use to buy the deals that they actually already have in their listings. I'm actually buying apartment buildings and vacant land. All that stuff is housed with some broker or some salesperson somewhere that has their real estate license. So why is it that those people are just working for a commission and I'm working for wealth? You start with a skill set by reading books or perhaps watching videos. Then they get themselves into the right circles. They start asking really good questions, and they realize that there's all kinds of people making all kinds of money in all kinds of ways. And of course, you walk away from that network that you should have been in the whole time, and you realize that there's thousands and thousands of ways that people are making money in the real estate world. And one of the very most beneficial things for me has been my network. That's why I continue to go to things like Rebel Capitalists, the Collective Inner Circle, and Limitless at limitlessexpo.com. This is precisely why I started Limitless, because we have over 40 speakers speaking to you in a non-sales way to try to teach you all, how can I make money where I am today? How can I learn things that I don't know today? What am I not seeing that other people are seeing? And how can I create a business around those things? My partner Tarl and I are not doing Limitless for the money. We're doing it for the network. We're doing it to get people together so we also benefit, and we get to, of course, meet some incredible people doing some incredible things. So if I was working 9 to 5, the first thing I would do is read books, watch videos, and then get yourself into the right circles. And once you actually start something that gives you passion and purpose, then of course it's going to be very confusing. And that's when you find a whole new set of people that can help assist you into growing and scaling that particular business. But until we know what that business is, it's very hard to tell you what to do. So while you're still working 9 to 5 and you got a side hustle, you have to make the decision. Is it profitable? Can I scale this? How quickly can I scale this? And do I want to add more or leave the position I'm in and focus on the business full time? And you and only you will know, based on the profitability, or the time spent on that particular business. There's been lots of times where I've started something and it just hasn't worked out like I thought. In other words, I was spending so much time on it and it wasn't really producing any fruit. So I stopped it and refocused onto something else that was actually making more money and a better use of my time. So let's say you're working 9 to 5 and you have a side hustle that starts to make a lot of money, and now you're considering actually leaving that position. The first thing to think about is, do I really want to do that? Because now you're leaving a big safety net. You probably have benefits and some kind of security around a monthly or weekly paycheck. This is no small decision. This is what I call moving from the bay to the ocean. When you're moving from something that's stable and secure and you have a paycheck to something where you're actually what I call eat what you kill, it's a big, big risk. Make sure when you make that decision that you have a very solid base. Now that base could be maybe you're married and you have a spouse that supports that decision and actually has some income in as a fallback. It might be a cash reserve or cash in the bank to get you through a period of time until you really scale it. Once you're self-employed and you have all this money coming in, you probably have a couple problems. Problem number one is the entire business is based around you. That's a problem. So you need to figure that out. You need to make sure that all your income is coming in from different buckets again, but now you're trying to get the business to be financially free. Before you were having you become financially free, because once your business is financially free, then you're financially free. You can do that through scaling your business, hiring people, bringing on partners, bringing on strategic relationships that can add values or more territory or whatever it might be. There are lots of ways to scale a company once you're fully committed to it. At this point, you're also going to have a tax problem. Now you just moved again what Robert Kiyosaki would call from an E to an S on the cash flow quadrant. What you're trying to do is move to the B quadrant and build a real business. So you go from E as employee, S to self-employed, to B to big business, and then to I, which is, of course, investment. And once you move that money all the way through the quadrant, now when you're invested in the I quadrant, you start to invest in real assets. Perhaps there are other businesses, perhaps it's real estate, but you're going to find that the world's going to open up for you. And as you start to grow your company, for example, you're going to see opportunities to invest in other things and diversify your money into things other than your actual business itself. I'll give you a couple examples. I have a very good friend that was a physician, and he was in a lot of debt when he got out of school. He immediately went into the hospital system. That was the first thing. Then he moved to a private practice. Then he actually put together a group of doctors, bought their own group of buildings to actually run their practice in. Then he started to scale the business. And at the end of the day, where he's making all of his money is the ownership of the buildings that the patients pay the doctors pay the mortgages. And that's how he's gotten wildly wealthy, by starting off as a doctor working in a hospital, moving to private practice, and then finding a group of doctors to invest in the buildings that they're already paying rent to, and then scaling that business all through just fixing people's eyes. So this gets much more difficult as you get a little older, but it's certainly not impossible, because when you also get a little older, you get a little more wiser and your network is bigger. And so you have more resources to draw from. It's certainly a lot easier when you're younger and you're starting the 9 to 5. Because when I started my first business in my 20s, I had no assets. I had nothing to lose. The only thing I had to lose was that stable paycheck. And boy, was I glad I did it. I made so many mistakes when I was younger. Because of that, I just made a video on the 3 most important lessons I wish I knew by the time I was 35. You can watch that here.